I have a Turkish teacher friend who's taught me everything. And this is me doing flamenco fusion. And the history of flamenco is really interesting as well. So the history aspect of everything I'm enjoying. And of course with Americans now, interestingly, a lot of American dancers who were dancers when I knew them have become very academic. So what they do is they stop wearing makeup and wear thick heavy-rimmed glasses and start talking in this very academic way, in this very highfalutin way, which I think, sorry, but where's the fun? This is me doing Persian, you see? And I had a friend show me how to make a hat out of a Kellogg's cornflake packet and cover it with material, and I'd always be, interested in sewing. And this is me doing Tunisian dance, which is the most difficult dance to do. It is exhausting. And I was able to, in London, to dance for the Tunisian Tourist Board because there was a world fair. And I turned up, I went to the ladies and changed into my Tunisian costume. I came to the stand where the Tunisians were. I started dancing. They went, oh, someone must have her. And the Moroccan stand said, where did you get her? So, and from there, they booked me for other places. Driven there and back in a Mercedes by the minister, tourism minister. And then they went to Manchester with 4 of them. So that was lovely. That was only because I dared, taking my hat, yeah, I can do this, and just appearing in costume. I couldn't go to university because I didn't have French O-level, that's GCSE, not French. I didn't have maths O-level. Maths, you had to do maths and a science, and I couldn't do the science either, so there was no question. I couldn't go to university, it wasn't university material. And so my life would have been very different had I not discovered dancing. Who knows what would have happened. What would happen in Greek clubs, you're doing really well, and then just before you did your show, the manager would come up and say, oh, we don't need you anymore, before the show. And I had to go on and be terrific after having that. That is rejection. I did a comedy course about 10 years ago. Thought I'd love to do stand-up comedy. And it was the most lovely thing to do. I went every fortnight, and it was only £10 for the evening. And we used to have to get up under the lights and do our bit. And that was terrific. And that made me a better public speaker. That was really good for the cruise ships. So we all learned to work with other people, to entertain other people, to make them laugh. And they'd sort of sit there a lot of the time like this, and you got to, but I'm used to overcoming that because as an entertainer, I'm used to all that. What do I want to do next? I would love to work on cruises again, but it means going back and studying PowerPoint, and I don't know how brave I am. I've done courses on PowerPoint and it just does not stick. My babysitting jobs, I have 2 little boys. One was 8, the other was 10, and they did my PowerPoint for me. So I came on Tunisia, and it was I had the best pictures, but I failed miserably. I failed on this course. They didn't want me. No, so you didn't do what you were taught to do. And I was, of course, well, it's not for me. I knew that, but I met nice people doing it. Because my mum's died at age 102, and for my comedy course, she wrote me the most fantastic one-liners of, her stories. I did a set on the Communist Party, and the teacher said it was the most brilliant thing you've ever done. She said, it's so good. She said you could do a 45-minute, one-woman show doing that. And my mum was lying in bed, in the care home, and I said, Mum, you are Britain's best and oldest comedy writer. So she was thrilled. What do I do next? Who knows? My life has been a series of coincidences and happy ones. Now I do a lot of volunteer work for charity. I do one called Breathe Easy, which I like very much, and I helped to organise that. And it's all about people with breathing problems, and it puts my life in perspective, because when we have a meeting, they sit around and most of them will be dead in a year, that's the problem. And I'm going to a funeral on Friday of somebody we liked very much, I'm very fond of. So, but that puts everything into perspective, I think. Oh, I can't dance. Everybody said, oh, I can't dance. I said, I bet you can, because so many people were told at school, oh, you can't dance in front of everyone. And like me, I was told I couldn't sing. I wanted to sing. All my life I wanted to sing. And the teacher said loudly in front of everyone, oh, Catherine, you've got a voice like a foghorn. So I started singing. 15 years ago I joined a choir, and it was wonderful. It changed my life. So it did replace a lot of the joy I'd had from dancing, to be in a choir and to do shows and do workshops and find I had a voice, and suddenly I had a voice. I never knew. And that was about 65 I was. And then, because I'm 80 now, so the last 15 years ago I started babysitting a business around Maida Vale. And I found I could sing the children to sleep with my newfound voice, and they say, oh yes, we want another song, sing for us. So I thought, that's my audience, little ones. What they have in common is expressing joy. And if you go to a class, you go to a choir, there's a wonderful fellow feeling when you have a good teacher. It brings people together, it brings communities together. We used to have, some of the members had dementia, and they'd be brought along by the carers, and they'd be smiling and happy, really enjoying it. So I was dancing in Greek clubs and Greek restaurants and loving it. I used to dance barefoot, and everybody smashed plates. One day, a piece of glass got into my foot, unbeknown to me, and I couldn't walk. I was hobbling away, and so I had to go to A&E, Whittington Hospital, Archway, as I lived in Muswell Hill. And I got into A&E and I said, look, I'm in agony in my foot. And so these medical students said, well, have you tried washing your foot? I said, yes. Dancing in Greek clubs. And then they'd say, oh, you must jump on the tables. I had to get up, oh, Cathy, on the table, no! And I'd get up on the table. And my gimmick was that I could shake so hard, I could shimmy so hard that the plates would go like this until they were saying, please, off the table.
Fantastic. Do you mind just saying anything?
Anything. Hello, it's wonderful to meet you, Tara.